Wednesday, May 22. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. The Police High Command has asked the Independent Commission of Investigations, INDICOM, for information regarding its claim that some cops are planting guns at certain crime scenes, as it intends to probe the matter and punish any member of the constabulary found guilty. In a statement last night, the High Command said, quote, "The JCF takes these allegations very seriously and would like the matter to be probed further. As a direct result, we have written to INDICOM asking them to provide us with the information regarding their public claims to facilitate further investigation." End quote. INDICOM made the claim last week in its first quarterly report for 2018, saying that the planted firearms scenario remains, quote, "a troubling feature for which the JCF must take responsibility to eradicate," end quote. Last night, the JCF said that it continues to conduct audits which are done by the Inspectorate of the Constabulary and the Ministry of National Security. The government intends to ensure that at least 20% of the contracts under the new Procurement Act will be guaranteed for local MSMEs, while another 20% will protect special and differential treatment of other local businesses. Minister of Finance and Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clark, is expected to make a statement on the regulations to the Public Procurement Amendment Act 2018 when the House of Representatives meets today. The minister is expected to address the special and differential treatment measures which are to be included in the regulations to protect local bidders for procurement contracts with the government. Clark, who piloted the bill in Gordon House last week, said the new bill will ensure that the provisions of the substantive act are effective in keeping Jamaica within internationally accepted standards and procures for public procurement. It's understood that the original act, which is awaiting these developments for implementation, seeks to regulate the procurement of goods, works, and services by public procuring entities. Dr. Clark noted that the government, as the single biggest spender in Jamaica, is committed to using procurement strategically to drive policies aimed at creating a pillar for sustainable economic growth and increased economies of scale. Activities for Labor Day tomorrow will be observed under the theme Ramp It Up, Fix It Up. The focus will be on building ramps and other facilities at schools and health centers that enable easy access to these buildings for persons with disabilities. The details were shared at the launch of Workers' Week and Labor Day at the Office of the Prime Minister recently. Labor Day will be observed on Wednesday, May 23, while celebrations for Workers' Week will begin on Monday, May 14, and culminate on Labor Day. The National Planning Committee, chaired by the Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Grange, is responsible for the organization of all activities for both Workers' Week and Labor Day. Speaking at the launch, Minister Grange said the two areas of focus for this year's activity will be health and education. This will involve the upgrading of health centers and the building of wheelchair ramps to facilitate access to the ground floor of public schools.
Outside of the official government projects, we're aware that various alumni, service clubs, and community groups will be undertaking specific projects across the country. I want to urge all those who have projects in mind to register them at the ministry's website and on the GIS website as well.
Minister of Education, Senator Ruel Reid, said his ministry has earmarked $30 million towards the completion of the project. Digicel and China Harbour have contributed to the cause as well.
When we did our audit, we had, in many instances, over 8 schools in many of our constituencies that were accessible to the disabled communities. But we still need to ramp it up, to put more ramps and rails, and again, the retrofitting of our bathroom facilities.
Speaking at the launch, Prime Minister Andrew Holness lauded the initiative, pointing to his administration's vision of inclusivity for all in education and access to jobs and social amenities. He said he will be in his constituency on May 23.
With a target of 126 schools right across Jamaica, I certainly will be focusing on my schools in my constituency, and I will be personally building ramps. So I will be having my concrete mix and my shovel and my trowel.
Labor Day is a day when communities participate in work projects across the island, while Workers' Week activities are held to recognize Jamaican workers and national hero, the Right Excellent Sam Sharp, who was martyred on May 23, 1832, as a result of his determination that slavery should be abolished. Wednesday is the final day of the annual Workers' Week. Portfolio Minister Shahina Robinson says Workers' Week, recognized this year under the theme Preserving Our Legacy, Unfolding Progress, is dedicated to honoring the persons who participated in and paid the ultimate sacrifice in the 1938 labor uprising. She says the protests symbolized the birth of collective efforts towards better working conditions and higher wages.
I dare say Jamaica would not be where we are today without a strong display of fortitude, resilience, and devotion of these workers.
Minister Robinson was speaking at the launch of Workers' Week at the office of the Prime Minister. Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie is rejecting criticism from his opposition counterpart, Noel R. Scott, that the National Solid Waste Management Authority, the NSWMA, failed to properly address a recent fire at the community of Riverton in St. Andrew. The fire at Riverton began on May 6 at a facility which stores tires. The blaze lasted for approximately 2 days and was due to the tires being set ablaze. Mr. McKenzie says in reacting to the fire, Mr. R. Scott failed to disclose that the former PNP administration's plan to establish a tire shredding facility in St. Catherine failed to get off the ground. Members of the gasoline retail trade are worried that the Jamaican economy could be hit hard as oil prices continue to inch up. With oil prices now above $70 a barrel and some analysts predicting an increase to $100 by next year, the Jamaica Gasoline Retailers Association, the JGRA, says this will likely spell bad news for the country. Still, the JGRA president said gas station operators have not seen a fall-off in sales even with the prices at the pumps inching up in recent weeks. He says as the trend continues, it will result in an increase in capital expenses from the dealers, which will go on probably higher interest rate and added additional costs. In a recent interview with RGR News, Energy Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley said the Holness administration is looking to develop strategies to prevent a major blow to Jamaica if oil prices skyrocket. In regional news, since 2010, PAHO member states have committed to the elimination of mother-to-child transmission of HIV and syphilis in the region. These commitments were renewed and expanded in 2016 through the approved Plan of Action for the Prevention and Control of HIV and Sexually Transmitted Infections, contributing to the end of AIDS and sexually transmitted infections as a public health problem in the Americas. The director of Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, recently sat down with journalist Nurka Demaris to discuss Cuba's commitment on the issue.
In an exclusive interview, Dr. Carice Etienne, director of PAHO, after participating in several days of the third edition of the International Convention of Public Health, Cuba Health 2018, evaluated the recertification of Cuba as the first country to eliminate transmission of HIV and congenital syphilis from mother to child and expressed her confidence in the future.
Cuba was the first country in the world to have been certified to have eliminated HIV and syphilis, congenital HIV and syphilis. Of course, this verification is for a time period. It is necessary to re-verify that indeed Cuba is maintaining its status as having eliminated congenital HIV and syphilis. So it is wonderful, obviously. So they are the first to be recertified as such, and I have every expectation that Cuba will continue to maintain its elimination status.
The Dr. Etienne said that this achievement is due to Cuba's model of care based on primary health care.
It is because the organization of care is one that is based on strengthening of the resolution capacity of the first level of care, ensuring a strong mother and child care program, ensuring very strong follow-up, and ensuring that the various tests are done and that we follow up with the results. So in Cuba's case, this is not a vertical program. It's a program that is contained within the model of care, and it is only health systems based on primary health care that can ensure that you maintain this status.
In 2015, Cuba received the status of first country in the world in eliminating the vertical transmission of HIV and congenital syphilis. Today, Cuba maintains that status. Doctors, nurses, specialized personnel continue to work from the family doctor's office, the polyclinics, hospitals, and scientific institutions giving care and follow-up to the mother and child. From Havana, Nurka Damaris, Caribbean Channel.
In sports, national striker Jordan Fletcher was yesterday admitted to the Cornwall Regional Hospital following a motor vehicle accident which occurred as he was returning home from a party in the Grill. Reports on the incident are inconclusive. However, the former Cornwall College striker was reportedly taken to the Savannah Lamar Hospital in an unconscious state, but later fled to the medical institution. PBCJ understands that a CT scan has been recommended for Fletcher, who represented San Jacinto Junior College in Houston, Texas last season, as he showed symptoms of a concussion when he was taken to the doctor in Montego Bay. And that's the news. Do stay with us. We'll have a follow-up on that story in further newscast. But right now, we have our weather report. This is PBCJ's weather report. Thanks so much for staying with us. Let's start as usual with our local currents. There is a trough affecting areas in Jamaica, and we're also seeing a forecast that the trough is expected to continue west across the island and into other regions across the Caribbean until tomorrow evening. In our forecast across the island today, we're expecting temperatures between 28 and 32 degrees Celsius, and we're also seeing a forecast of a possibility of rainfall across the island. And of course, this is due in part to the weather condition affecting the Caribbean, the trough that we spoke about earlier. Let's take a look at what's happening specifically in Kingston. This afternoon, we're expecting temperatures between 26 and 29 degrees Celsius, and we're also seeing scattered showers forecast for this afternoon going into this evening. We're seeing that the temperature is set to go down a little to 25 degrees Celsius. Let's see a forecast over there in Montego Bay, the western end of the island. No surprise there. We're looking at scattered showers forecast, and we're also seeing warm temperatures throughout the day between 24 and 29 degrees Celsius. That's set to go down to a cool 8 degrees Celsius this evening. In our forecast for tomorrow, we're still seeing a forecast of rainfall as the trough is expected to continue affecting the island until at least tomorrow evening. We're seeing warm temperatures, though, between 28 and 32 degrees Celsius. In our Caribbean forecast for tomorrow, we're looking at warm temperatures between 28 and 31 degrees Celsius. We're also seeing a forecast of scattered showers in several Caribbean countries, over there in Antigua, over there in Grenada. In Nassau, Bahamas, we're looking at cloudy conditions, but we're seeing a possibility of rainfall over there in certain areas of Mexico. And further afield, we're looking at the United States. For those of you who are traveling tomorrow, we're seeing warm temperatures in the areas on your screen. We're looking at Los Angeles, Miami, New York, and Atlanta. We're seeing maximum temperature at 32 degrees Celsius forecast for Los Angeles, but we could be having rainfall in certain areas. Cloudy conditions forecast for Miami, could be getting rainfall in New York and Atlanta. And that's it for the weather report. Thanks so much for once again making it PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. Pleasant viewing.